Fela Kuti. Fela Anikulapo Kuti, born Olufela Olusegun Oludotun Ransom Kuti on 15th October 1938 and passed on 2nd August 1997, also known as Abami Eda, was a Nigerian musician, band leader, composer, political activist, and Pan-Africanist. He is regarded as the pioneer of Afrobeat, a Nigerian music genre that combines West African music with American funk and jazz. At the height of his popularity, he was referred to as one of the Africa's most challenging and charismatic music performers. AllMusic described him as a musical and socio-political voice of international significance. Kuti was the son of Nigerian women rights activist Fumilayo Ransom Kuti. After early experience abroad, he and his band Africa 70, featuring drama and musical director Tony Allen, shot to stardom in Nigeria during the 1970s, during which he was an outspoken critic and target of Nigeria's military junta. In 1970, he founded the Calacuta Republic Commune, which declared itself independent from military rule. The commune was destroyed in a 1978 raid that injured Kuti and his mother. He was jailed by the government of Muhammadu Buhari in 1984, but released after 20 months. He continued to record and perform through the 1980s and 90s. Since his death in 1997, reissues and compilations of his music have been overseen by his son Femi Kuti. Early life. Olufela Olusegun Oludotun Ransom Kuti was born into the Ransom Kuti family of an upper middle class Nigerian family on the 15th October 1938 in Abeokuta, the modern-day capital of Ogun State, which at the time was a city in the British colony of Nigeria. His mother, Chief Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, was an anti-colonial feminist, and his father, Reverend Israel Oludotun Ransom Kuti, was an Anglican minister, school principal, and the first president of the Nigerian Union of Teachers. Kuti's parents both played active roles in the anti-colonial movement in Nigeria, most notably the Abeokuta women's riots, which was led by his mother in 1946. His brother, Beko Ransom Kuti, and Olikoye Ransom Kuti, both medical doctors, were well known nationally. Kuti is a cousin to the writer and laureate Wole Soyinka, a Nobel Prize for Literature winner. They are both descendants of Josiah Ransom Kuti, who is Kuti's paternal grandfather and Soyinka's maternal great-grandfather. Kuti attended Abeokuta Grammar School. In 1990, he was sent to London to study medicine, but decided to study music instead at the Trinity College of Music, with the trumpet being his preferred instrument. While there, he formed the band Kula Lobitos and played the fusion of jazz and high life. In 1960, Kuti married his first wife, Remilekun Remi Taylor, with whom he had 5 children, Femi, Yeni, and Sola. In 1963, Kuti moved back to the newly independent Federation of Nigeria, reformed Kula Lobitos, and trained as a radio producer for the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. He played for social time with Victor Olaiya and all stars. He called his style Afrobeat, a combination of Fuji music, funk, jazz, high life, calypso, and traditional Yoruba music. In 1969, Kuti formed the band, took the band to the United States and spent 10 months in Los Angeles. While there, he discovered the Black Power movement through Sandra Smith, now known as Sandra Sadore or Sandra Akanke Isidore, a partisan of the Black Panther Party. This experience heavily influenced his music and political views. He renamed the band Nigeria 70. Soon after, the Immigration of Naturalization Service was tipped off by a promoter that Kuti and his band were in the US without work permits. The band performed a quick recording session in Los Angeles that would later be released as the 69 Los Angeles Sessions. After Kuti and his band returned to Nigeria, the group was renamed the Africa 70 as lyrical themes changed from loved social issues. He formed the Calcutta Republic, a commune, a recording studio and home for many people connected to the band, which he later declared independent from the Nigerian state. Kuti set up a nightclub in the Empire Hotel, first named the Afro Spot and later the African Shrine, where he both performed regularly and officiated at personalized Yoruba traditions in home of his nation's ancestors' faith. He also changed his name to Anikulapo, meaning he who carries death in his pouch, with the interpretation, I will be the master of my own destiny and will decide when it is time for death to take me. He stopped using the hyphenated surname Ransom because he considered it a slave name. Kuti's music was popular among the Nigerian public and Africans in general. He decided to sing in Pidgin English so that the individuals all over Africa could enjoy his music, where the local languages they speak are diverse and numerous. As popular as Kuti's music had become in Nigeria and everywhere, it was unpopular with the ruling government, and raids on the Calcutta Republic were frequent. During the 1972, Ginger Baker recorded Stradivarius with Kuti, appearing alongside vocalist and guitarist Bobby Tench. Around this time, Kuti became even more involved in the Yoruba religion. In 1977, Kuti and 70 released the album Zombie, which heavily criticized Nigerian soldiers and used the zombie metaphor to describe the Nigerian military's methods. The album was a massive success and infuriated the government who raided the Calcutta Republic with 1,000 soldiers. During the raid, Kuti was severely beaten, and his elderly mother, the first woman to drive a car in Nigeria, was fatally injured after being thrown from the window. The commune was burnt down, and Kuti's studio and instruments and master tapes were destroyed. Kuti claimed that he would have been killed had it not been for a commanding officer's intervention as he was being beaten. Kuti's response to the attack was to deliver his mother's coffin to the Dodal Barracks in Lagos, General Olusegun Obasanjo's residence, and to write 2 songs, Coffin for Head of State and Unknown Soldier, referring the official inquiry that claimed an unknown soldier had destroyed the commune. Kuti and his band took up residence in Crossroads Hotel after the shrine had been destroyed along with the commune. In 1978, he married 27 women, many of whom were dancers, composers, and singers with whom he worked. The marriage served not only to mark the anniversary of the attack on the Calcutta Republic, but also to protect Kuti and his wives from authorities' false claims that Kuti was kidnapping women. He adopted a rotational system of maintaining 12 simultaneous wives. There were also 2 concerts in the year. The first was in Accra, in which rioting broke out during the song Zombie, which caused Kuti to be banned from entering Ghana. The second was after the Berlin Jazz Festival, when most of Kuti's musicians deserted him due to rumors that he had planned to use all the proceeds to fund his presidential campaign. In 1978, Fela Kuti performed at the Berliner Jazz stage in Berlin with his band Africa 70. Disappointed by their fees, Tony Allen, the band leader, and almost all the musicians resigned. Since then, baritone played Lekan Animash became the band leader, and Fela created a group called Egypt 80. In 1979, Kuti formed his political party, which he called Movement of the People, MOP, to clean up society like a mop, but it quickly became inactive due to its confrontations with the government of the day. MOP preached Nkrumahism and Africanism. In 1980, two of Kuti's sons are musicians, Femi and Seun. In 1980, Fela signed an exclusive management with French producer Martin Maisonneuve, who secured a record deal with Arista Records London through A&R Chakwin Goch. The first album came in February 1981 under the title of Black President, with the track ITT, and on the B-side Colonial Mentality, and an edited version of Sorrow, Tears and Blood. These two tracks, recorded with Africa 70 and Tony Allen, were unreleased in Europe. Following the release, Fela performed his first European tour, 4 concerts in a week, with a suite of 70 people. The tour starting in Paris on March 15, 1981, with a huge crowd estimated at 10,000 people. Then Brussels, Vienna, Strasbourg. Black President was followed by another album, was recorded in Paris in July 1981. Original Surfer Head with Power Show, and the B-side. On the B-side, Fela also recorded the track Perambulator in Paris. Arista gave his back freedom to Fela at the end of 1981. French filmmaker Jean-Jacques Flory came to Lagos early 1982 to direct the now classic film Music is a Weapon. The film was broadcast first on Antenne 2 French TV in 1982. Producer Stéphane Galdieff didn't like the film and decided to edit it for an international release. In 1983, Kuti nominated himself as president in Nigeria's first elections in decades, but his candidature was refused. At this time, Kuti created a new band, Egypt 80, which reflected the view that Egyptian civilization, knowledge, philosophy, mathematics, and religious systems are African and must be claimed as such. Kuti stated in an interview, stressing the point that I have to make Africans aware of the fact that Egyptian civilization belongs to the African. So that was the reason why I changed the name of my band to Egypt 80. Kuti continued to record albums and tour the country. He further infuriated the political establishment by implicating ITT Corporation's Vice President Mashoud Abiola and Obasanjo in the popular 25-minute political screen entitled ITT, International Thief. In 1984, Muhammad Buhari's government, of which Kuti was a vocal opponent, jailed him on a charge of currency smuggling. Amnesty International and others denounced the charges as politically motivated. Amnesty designated him a prisoner of conscience, and other human rights groups also took up his case. After 20 months, General Ibrahim Babangida released him from prison. On his release, Kuti divorced his 12 wives, citing marriage brings selfishness, since his wives would regularly compete for superiority. Kuti continued to release albums with Egypt 80 and toured in the United States and Europe while continuing to be politically active. In 1986, he performed in Giants Stadium in New Jersey as part of Amnesty International's A Conspiracy of High Hope concert, along with Bono, Carlos Santana, and the Neville brothers. In 1989, Kuti and Egypt 20 released the anti-apartheid album Beast of No Nation that depicted US President Ronald Reagan, UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, and South Africa State President Peter Villian Botha on its cover. The title of the composition evolved out of the statement by Botha: "This uprising against apartheid system will bring back the beast in us." Kuti's albums output slowed in the 1990s, and eventually he ceased releasing albums altogether. On 21st January 1993, he and 4 members of Africa 70 were arrested and later charged on 25th January for the murder of an electrician. Rumors also speculate that he was suffering from an illness for which he was refusing treatment. However, there had been no confirmed statement from Kuti about this speculation. Death. On 3rd January 1997, Kuti's brother Olikoye Ransom Kuti, already a prominent AIDS activist and former Minister of Health, announced that Kuti had died on the previous day from complications related to AIDS. Kuti had been an AIDS denialist, and his widow maintained that he did not die of AIDS. His younger son, Seun, took the role of leading Kuti's former band, Egypt 80. As of 2022, the band is still active, releasing some music under the moniker Seun Kuti and Egypt 80. Political views and activism. Kuti was highly engaged in political activism in Africa from the 1970s until his death. He criticized corruption of Nigerian government officials and the mistreatment of Nigerian citizens. He spoke of colonialism as the root of the socio-economic and political problems that plagued the African people. Corruption was one of the worst political problems facing Africa in the 1970s, and Nigeria was among the most corrupt countries. Its government rigged elections and performed coups that ultimately worsened poverty, economic inequality, unemployment, and political instability, further promoting corruption and crime. Kuti's protest songs covered themes inspired by the realities of corruption and socio-economic inequality in Africa. Kuti's political statement could be heard throughout Africa.